Welcome to the New Mom Talk podcast, your go-to podcast for evidence-based answers to your burning questions about parenting. Join us as we dive into commonly Googled topics and hear from experts and real moms. Let's navigate parenthood together, one question at a time. Hi, everyone. Today I'm excited because we're going to talk about meditation and how that helps with postpartum anxiety. So one of the things that I'm really excited to talk about here is the postpartum anxiety, which I think tends to be very common, but isn't really talked about because we're so focused on postpartum depression. So with that, we have Kelly Smith from Yoga for You, who is going to dive in and share all about how meditation can really help us out if you are struggling with this anxiety piece. So I'm going to hand it over to you. If you can start off with telling us about yourself and what you do.
Absolutely. So hi, everyone. I am Kelly. I'm the founder of Yoga for You, and I'm host of the podcast Mindful Minutes and Meditation Mama. And I love to help people connect with their truest self. I like to demystify meditation and show people that it is easier and simpler than it really is. And as a mom of two myself, two little ones, I love to help support moms through the fertility, prenatal, postpartum period of their life by creating this simple but powerful micro habit of meditation, intentional introspection, and just try to just make people feel a little bit better through this thing that I love.
That is so great. I love that you are also a podcaster because you know this, I guess, culture, but also the fact that you get to talk about meditation. And so anyone listening will be able to link to you and find your podcast on my show notes. So let's start with the basics. Can you explain a little bit about what postpartum anxiety is?
Yes, postpartum anxiety, we know her, we don't love her, but she's around a lot. I personally experienced it tremendously after the birth of my oldest, my son, who's now 4. And postpartum anxiety, and I know it's kind of funny, you're like, oh, haha, a meditation teacher had postpartum anxiety. But, that really shows us that postpartum anxiety doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter if you have, taken vows of silence and lived with monks. It doesn't mean that you get the right combination of, a predisposition to anxiety, hormones, a major life change, and like a big event like birth and having a baby, and you get that right cocktail, that you're not going to be in the thick of postpartum anxiety. And I loved what you said about how sometimes postpartum anxiety gets swept under the rug, or just it's not as talked about as postpartum depression, which, also we know her, we don't love her, she's around. But these two things exist. And I think that we almost normalize postpartum anxiety more of like, oh, well, you just have mom brain, or of course you're worried, or when you become a mom, you worry about everything. But the problem isn't just kind of your standard mom worry. It's when it starts going a little bit too far and it turns into full-blown anxiety. And that's something that really starts in the brain. I had to really learn that for myself. And I love to share that with people, is that if you're experiencing postpartum anxiety, you have experienced it, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You're not a bad mom. Postpartum anxiety in general, is just a physiological response from a trigger that your brain responds to. It is something that is normal, but if it goes kind of out of whack, it can become too much. I found myself, full transparency, after the birth of my son, I stayed up for 5 days straight and I wouldn't sleep because I was scared that if I went to sleep, something horrible is going to happen to my son and I'd sleep through it. So I just stayed awake and I watched him breathe for like 5 days. And then I had an experience that could be postpartum psychosis. I like to think it was divine intervention, but I was standing there over my son's bassinet and I felt this presence walk into the bedroom, and I just heard this comforting voice say, "It's okay, sweetie, I'll take the night shift. You get some sleep and I'll swap with you in the morning." And it was in that moment that it did feel comforting to me, but it also was really eye-opening to like, well, this has gone too far. Like, I'm beyond just worried because I'm a mom now. Like, this is too much. This has become a problem. And it came very eye-opening to me that it was time to do something about my postpartum anxiety.
And not that you needed any help staying awake when you are the mom of a newborn, but oh my goodness, that like you must have really been a true zombie.
I don't like, yeah, zombie. I went a few steps beyond whatever zombie mode is, but I think now having had two very different postpartum experiences, I think a big piece of it the first time around was one, I didn't know what to expect. So I didn't know what was, quote, normal or not normal. I also just, I think the first 2 weeks postpartum for me, it's just like pure adrenaline. And I don't know, even with my second, when I did not have, by any means the same anxiety I had the first time around, for me, the true like sleep deprivation, the fatigue, even the body being like, oh my gosh, this huge thing just happened. It usually takes like those first 2 weeks. But I think when you see those moms like, lifting buses or something, these crazy things, I feel like that's what you're doing in the first like 2 weeks postpartum. It's like your mind and your body doesn't quite register and you just operate in a different mode.
Yeah, and I totally get like that feeling of not wanting to go to sleep because you're so scared about all of these things that can potentially go wrong that you hear about. For example, SIDS, babies can't sleep on their backs, and all of the things, right? Like, I don't know, there's a blanket on them and then it suddenly covers their face. Not that you should have a blanket on your baby, but it's just so much information coming at you, and it's really hard to sift through it as a first time mom. So, with all of that, how does meditation specifically address the symptoms of postpartum anxiety, such as like that racing, the constant racing thoughts, or the feeling that actually doesn't go away? I think as a mom, of feeling overwhelmed, but how can it help manage it?
My gosh, yeah, I call that chronically behind. I just feel chronically behind no matter what I do, how I try to catch up. I accept that sometimes I'm chronically behind. You know what? I love this question because meditation really helps not only kind of those, I think of it as like the hamster on the wheel mentally, but it's going to help your anxiety in two different ways. So it's going to help in the moment. If you think of your anxiety as sort of this like dimmer switch, where sometimes different situations can really turn the volume up, ramp up that anxiety, meditation is going to help you in the moment, either kind of turn the volume down or turn that dimmer switch down for the immediate symptoms that you're feeling. So it's great for deactivating the fight or flight mechanism. It helps to physically calm your body. It gives you that pause that you need to be like, okay, I'm spiraling, pause button. What am I going to do about it? Helps you get back into your body and out of your thoughts. And that's going to be the in the moment. And when I say in the moment meditation, I want everyone to know that studies tell us we can do 8 minutes a day to get the physical, mental, emotional benefits of meditation. So any of my moms listening being like, cool, great, Kelly, but I don't have 30 minutes, 60 minutes a day to meditate. Neither do I, and this is my career. So I want everyone to know I'm talking about just a few minutes every day. So that's going to help in the short term, the in the moment. And then what you're doing is as you continue this practice in the long term, going back to the brain, is you're actually going to rewire your brain to have smaller physiological anxiety responses. So this all starts with the amygdala, which is the pain, fear, worry, anxiety center of the brain. It kicks off the fight or flight mechanism. So with regular meditation, what happens is the amygdala actually begins to atrophy or get smaller, meaning that you're having these smaller physiological responses because on the flip side, the more anxious we get, the more we see distressing things on the news. For me, I'm up in the middle of the night feeding the baby, doom scrolling. And I don't know how the algorithm knows, even if I haven't like spoken my fears out loud, it's like the algorithm knows to feed me this content that is like the most triggering content I've ever seen in my life. And so it can read your mind and know what you're afraid of. All of that activates the amygdala. It's going to make it bigger because it's going to go, hey, there's danger out here. There's scary things out there. I need to be ready to, fight, flee, or freeze at any second. It gets bigger and stronger. So meditation over time helps to atrophy the amygdala so you have smaller physiological responses to anxiety triggers. And it gives you more activity, mass, and strength in the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain behind the forehead that has to do with like emotion regulation, higher cognitive function. So you're really rewiring your brain after about 8 weeks to have smaller anxiety responses and a greater capacity for emotion regulation, memory, and higher cognitive function. So it helps in the moment and then long term as well.
Wow. So there really are a lot of benefits. And I was a special ed teacher. I used to practice, meditation with my kids. I took classes on meditation, so I know all of these benefits. But that being said, like what type of meditation techniques really are the most effective for postpartum moms, especially those that are new to meditation? And I'm just kind of go off of this, I think, picture that you're probably gonna get from like newbies, right? I don't have time to sit outside with my legs crossed, close my eyes, and be in peace. I can't meditate. I don't know how to meditate. I'm not good at it. So, is that kind of
Yes.
what you tend to hear from?
Oh, percent. I would say the most common ones that I hear, and all of these are very valid. I can't meditate because I'm too busy. My brain is too busy. I'm too, ADHD, or even I'm neurodivergent, which I am as well. So I can't meditate. I'm never alone. All of these things. There's all these reasons why we can't meditate. And I hold space for all of those because these are real things, especially as moms. Like, we are busy. We are tired. Our brains are going, a million miles an hour. It's like, even if you aren't neurodivergent, we do have mom brain. And so it's kind of like, what is going on here sometimes? But to answer your question, honestly, the true answer is the best kind of meditation for new moms is the one that you're actually going to try and stick to. And then my second answer is I think guided meditations are the best place to start, because think of it as like if you're going to a yoga class, for example, it's so much easier if you just have someone, you have a teacher there that's like, come along with me. I've already made the class plan. We're going to, this from teaching too. You're not going to have, your kids come in and say, okay, well, what do you guys want to do today? Why don't you willy-nilly come up with a class plan today? And so a guided meditation is just like having a teacher that's going to walk you through your 6, 7, maybe 8 minutes. You can just hit play. You can listen, you can follow along. They're going to guide you through the practice, and then you're done and you don't have to think about it. So I find for newbies and also for moms, it's like the last thing we want is more on that mental load of like, oh, great. And now I have to figure out how to meditate. And then you spend more time trying to figure out, quote, how to do it or looking through different resources and things. No, just find a guided meditation, hit play, follow along, and then you're done. I think that's the easiest, but honestly, it's the one that you're more likely to try and stick with.
Feeling like your 15-minute prenatal appointments don't give you enough time to prepare for birth? You're not alone, but you don't have to figure it all out yourself. That's where the She Births Bravely childbirth course comes in. In just 20 minutes a day, you'll learn how to cope with contractions, make labor easier, and fuel your body with the right nutrition. Plus, taking a birth class builds confidence, strengthens your bond with your partner, and even reduces the risk of a C-section. I'm using it myself as a second-time mom, and you can too. Sign up through my link at shebirthsbravely.com/newmomtalk and get a free I Love Mom onesie and teething toy for your little one.
Yes, I love that. I remember when I first started meditating. I don't really do it as often now, maybe, when I'm washing dishes. But when I first started, it was when Calm, the app, was free. And I loved it because you literally just had somebody telling you what to do. And it was peaceful listening to somebody else's calming voice and like the nature sounds that went along with it, if there were any.
Yeah, that's perfect. Calm, insight timer. There's a bunch of guided meditations on YouTube. Like both of my podcasts are just guided meditations. So you can find like podcasts. There's so many places where you can just find these resources and like hit play.
So now let's talk about the busy moms because yes, you are going to get this a lot. I just don't have time to meditate. So how can we carve out time or find the time while being a busy mom with a newborn or a busy mom with multiple kids? Like, where do you find those little pockets?
So I don't know if everyone's going to love the answer that I give because it's kind of very honest, but the place that you're going to find the time, if you really feel like, and again, we're talking 8 to 10 minutes. I don't have 8 to 10 minutes. We're going to do 8 to 10 minutes less of something that doesn't serve us. That's probably going to look like putting down our phone and not, scrolling on TikTok before bed. We're just going to put it down 8 minutes earlier. That's it. And I know not everyone's going to like that answer. And maybe not everyone is laying in bed, scrolling on social media, or maybe first thing you wake up, what do? We grab our phone and we start doing something. Honestly, I think you just tell yourself if you really don't, and believe me, I get it. I'm the primary parent. I have 2 kids, a 4-year-old, a 1-year-old. I run a business. Like I have 2 podcasts. Believe me, I see you and I understand how you're feeling. Again, chronically behind. That's how I feel often. I get it. There's probably something you're already doing in your day that feels more like numbing or trying to turn the brain off. And we do this for a reason. We're just going to do 8 less minutes of that because you're probably doing more of it than you think, myself included, right? I start scrolling and then I'm like, oh my gosh, how has it been, an hour already? What happened? I was supposed to be going to bed. And that's going to be probably the easiest place. The other easiest place to find this time, and this is going to depend on your kid's schedule, is if you just have the one kid, nap time. I know that nap time is so precious and we're like, okay, my child is finally sleeping, they're napping, I have to do dishes, do laundry, hop on this call, do all of these things. Put your kid in their crib, in their bassinet, and you're going to take those first just 8 minutes and you're going to be done. That's it. A nap time, or you just put them down for bed. You tiptoe out of that room and then you're just going to do your few minutes there. So those are the 2 places for really busy moms I find to be the easiest, is you're just going to swap 8 minutes for something that doesn't serve you for 8 minutes that in the long run really are going to serve you.
So are there any particular breathing exercises or mindful practices that can be used during those moments when somebody is feeling super anxious or overwhelmed?
My favorite breath technique for anxiety and overwhelm, this one is great. It's been, shown to help basically support us in these times, is what's called a relaxation breath. And that means exhale is longer than inhale. For me, I like to do an inhale for a count of 4 and an exhale for a count of 7. The reason that this works is because it mimics what happens to us at nighttime when we're getting ready for sleep. We start exhaling more than we're inhaling because we're tired. That's actually what a yawn is if we do this too much, our body will force an inhale. I know everyone listening is going to yawn because I just talked about it. But when you start having more exhales than inhales, your body will go, I need more oxygen, and it'll force a big inhale, which is what a yawn is. That's why you do it when you're tired. And so if you mimic that by extending your exhales a little bit more, your body will go, it's wind down time. I'm relaxing. I'm kind of easing into that restful state, and it tricks your brain into then kind of kicking into that more restful state because it thinks that you're like tired and winding down. So for breath, that one's my favorite. Just an inhale for 4 and exhale for 7. It could be 5 and 8. Adjust accordingly. Just make the exhale maybe 2 or 3 counts longer than the inhale. That's my favorite breath technique. My favorite mindfulness practices, I do love a body scan meditation, because anxiety is really, even though we physiologically feel it, it starts in our mind, and it's so easy to get trapped in our thoughts. I feel so strongly about this. I literally wrote a book called You Are Not Your Thoughts because it's too easy to get like trapped in that mental chatter and the thoughts that we have. So getting out of the mind and into the body, I find is so helpful. So doing a body scan, doing one of those quick tense and release practices where, you scrunch up your hands and then you relax them, then your arms, you relax them. Something really somatic that gets you into your body can be so helpful to get you out of that mind spiral. And those are probably 2 of my favorite easy techniques. And then if there's anything in there, like if you ask yourself, what feels good to me in those moments, like, maybe it's visualization, going to like a beach, or maybe it's, anything else. If there's something that you really like already, maybe have a couple of guided meditations that have those elements saved so you can just pull one up when you need it. Otherwise, exhale longer than inhale, and like a body scan or kind of a more somatic mindfulness practice, I find to be extremely beneficial in those really tough moments.
Love that. Can you talk a little bit about like the long-term benefits of meditation for moms that are navigating that mental health beyond just the instant or immediate reliefs that we've been kind of talking about?
Yeah, so there is that kind of neurological component where we're rewiring our brain to have better memory, concentration, and emotion regulation, and then smaller physiological anxiety and fear responses. People who have a regular meditation practice, and that's usually about 10 minutes a day for about 8 weeks or so, they report being happier, and they also report feeling more compassionate towards themselves and towards others, which I think is a really beautiful thing. It also can help to boost your immune system, which, there's a reason mom's always getting sick, and it's because we're depleted, we're giving so much. And so that's like amazing to help support your immune system and your overall health. It also improves your self-talk, which at least for me is huge. I think it's only speaking from personal experience. It's easy to kind of go down the being really hard on ourselves. Like, oh my gosh, I let my kid have 2 yogurt drinks today. I'm such a bad mom. Their teeth are going to decay and they're going to get diabetes or whatever. And so being kinder to yourself is something that can help with regular meditation, better mental clarity. That's something that I struggled with as a mom, still struggle with sometimes. I'm like, okay, brain, let's like get online here. It's going to help you improve your sleep. So even if you aren't getting the full duration of sleep that you want, it can help improve the quality of sleep that you're currently getting, can help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer when you can. And also it helps you to not be as reactive. This one was huge for me. No one wants to feel snappy with their kids. No one wants to feel overstimulated. And then, you end up, and we all do it sometimes, you end up yelling at your kids or saying, that's enough, or I need a break, right? And we get really reactive in those moments. Meditation helps us to become less reactive in the moment so that we don't end up having those kind of spicy moments that we regret later on. And then probably one of my favorite benefits is that it helps to model positive self-care for mind and body for our children, because they're going to look and they're going to see mom is taking these 8 minutes to herself, or mom's going to take a deep breath when she's having a hard time. That means that when I'm having a hard time, I can do that too. They're going to be curious. They're going to want to engage in what you're doing, and you're modeling such a beautiful thing for your children, whether, they're old enough to get it or not. And the more tools you acquire in your tool belt, you can then help them apply and acquire in theirs as well.
Yeah, so true. I always say that, right? Like they see what you do and it becomes a norm that it's not so hard for them to essentially incorporate it into their daily life. And that's with anything, like working out, doing yoga, any of the things. So my last and final question, do you have any other tips, suggestions, and or recommendations?
So one recommendation that I have for postpartum anxiety specifically that I did differently the second time around is I practiced what's called protected sleep. And this was it's a little bit trickier because I was exclusively breastfeeding my daughter in the first few weeks. We hadn't introduced bottles for a while, but once we did introduce bottles, we started practicing protected sleep, which meant for 1 4-hour stretch. And I know, anyone who is expecting their first child right now and listening to this, you're going to hear what I'm about to say and be like, oh my gosh, this sounds like a nightmare, but actually it was a big improvement upon the first time. So for 4 hours, and I kind of let my partner decide what those 4 hours were. I think it was like 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. I went into a different bedroom and it was like white noise on, eye mask on, noise canceling headphones. Like I looked crazy, but in those moments, like even if I heard the baby upstairs, I wasn't going to sleep because I was be like, why is she crying? Does she need me? Should I go upstairs? Should I intervene? What should I do? And I just lay there hoping my husband or whoever would just figure it out. So I had to just white noise on, noise canceling headphones in, like eye mask on, complete different part of the house. And unless it was an emergency, I was unavailable for just those 4 hours, and making sure that I got, and this is in those first few months, getting at least 1 4-hour stretch of uninterrupted sleep, I really think completely changed my postpartum experience from the first time versus the second time. Because the first time, I didn't do that. I was up all the time. Even if I elbow my husband and say, hey, go get a bottle, it's your turn, I was still waking up to do that and say, baby's up, feed them, and practicing that protected sleep if it's available to you. If you have a partner that can do that, if your baby is taking bottles, whatever it is, I think it really changed my postpartum experience for the better the second time around.
Yeah, it is so true. I think with our oldest, we only have one. But I think on weekends, my husband wouldn't let me sleep in because during the week, he didn't get any parental leave. So I was the one that was doing everything during the week. I was going to have to wake up anyway because I was nursing. So I was like, it's easier just to give him my breasts instead of pump.
That was me the first few weeks too. I was like, okay, I'll just, whip them out. Here we go.
So obviously you have to do what's best for you and your family. But if you have support, if you have the finances to get a night nurse or a postpartum doula that comes overnight, whatever it is, look at those options.
Even if it's just for a few hours, it can make a big difference.
Sleep is so important. You don't want to end up like a zombie like Kelly did or Leon.
Yeah. Yep. Don't do as I say, not as I did the first time around in motherhood.
You learn a lot from that first time. Well, thank you so, so much. And like I said earlier, if you want to reach out, you want to follow her, you want to find the podcast, all of that information will be linked in the show notes. It was so nice to have you on here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening. Tune in next week for our next episode. You can find us on Instagram for more updates and tips. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts and give us a review if you like us.